On October 4th, 1957, Soviet Union launched a satellite, Sputnik. This was a bit shocking, and on November 13th, President Eisenhower responded to this by delivering a speech, a major speech, and I'll quote a little bit of it. He said, "The Soviet Union now has, in the combined category of scientists and engineers, a greater number than the United States, and is producing graduates in these fields at a much faster rate. I believe innovation adds to the wealth of society." That's point one. Second, that science and technology, R&D, lie at the heart of innovation. And thirdly, leadership, which we still own, in innovation cannot be taken for granted. What is really at stake, and what are other countries doing? So let me remind you. The United States has been, for well over a century, the greatest innovation machine in the world. While it did not invent the automobile, that was done in Germany, it took the invention and processed it into something that was not seen in the world before, especially the Ford Model T assembly line. And so it took over the leadership of automobile manufacturing for pretty much 3/4 of a century. The first airplane was discovered in America, the first transistor, the first integrated circuits, optical and satellite communications, GPS, the internet, all came from the United States, all did wonderful things in terms of wealth creation for the United States. And so I say that today this leadership is at risk. We are no longer leaders in manufacturing, but a little more startling, we are no longer the leaders in high technology manufacturing. In terms of global high-tech exports of our country, we hit a peak in 1998, capturing about 25% of the market, and since that time, it has been declining steadily. So now it's about 12% of the world market. Europe remained roughly constant during this time. Meanwhile, China from 1995 to 2000, this graph goes up to 2008, went from about 6% to 20% of the world market of high-tech manufactured goods. What's the evidence that U.S. science and technological leadership is at risk? Well, in the United States, most of the patents in the United States were originated in the United States. But in 2009, for the first time, 51% of U.S. patents were awarded to non-U.S. companies. China has gone from 15th place to 5th place in international patents during that time. The World Economic Forum ranks the U.S. 48th in the quality of mathematics and science education. China's Tsinghua and Peking universities are the two largest suppliers of students who receive PhDs in the United States. In less than 15 years, China has moved from 14th place to 2nd place in published research articles, now just behind the United States. 8 of the 10 global companies with the largest R&D budgets in the world are established R&D facilities in China or India or both, and 77% say will build in China and India. These are facts taken from Rising Above the Gathering Storm, revisited 2010. And an American company, Applied Materials, recently opened the world's largest private solar R&D facility in China. This is the threat that I see. So America still has the opportunity to lead in a world that will need essentially a new industrial revolution to give us the energy we want inexpensively but carbon-free. And it's a way to secure our future prosperity, as noted by the Premier of China. But I think time is running out. And I believe that we shouldn't lose sight of this, and that federal support for scientific R&D is going to be critical for our economic competitiveness. The 2010 federal budget is $6.3 trillion. How much of that is on energy, research, and development? 0.14%, $5.1 billion. What the Department of Energy is now investing in are very exciting technologies, an affordable electric vehicle battery that could allow a 500-mile range. This would be 3 to 5 times better than today's battery. New transformative approaches for making biofuels that could dramatically lower the cost. A program that will produce abundant domestic fuel directly from sunlight. We have a program, a roadmap that says how can we get photovoltaic, solar energy down by a factor of 4 in price. Why a factor of 4? At a factor of 4, you don't need any subsidies. It flies. And that's the magic number. In fact, in all these technologies, we're now developing plans. At what point do you not need subsidy? Can you get there? And if we can, we're designing programs to do that. So we face a choice today. Will we maintain America's innovation leadership, or are we going to fall behind? And I would say, let's seize this opportunity, and we really can't afford not to. So in closing, let me say that there are some differences between what I call this Sputnik event and today's, and the Sputnik event of 1957. As was noted in the introduction, while we're competing, there's an opportunity to also collaborate. And we have much to collaborate with China, India, and other countries. Why? In the next 2 decades, China is going to be building a new infrastructure of buildings, cities, roads, transmission lines, equivalent to the entire infrastructure of the United States. In 2030, what India will look like in 2030 doesn't exist. 80% of what it has today, what it will have in 2030 doesn't exist today. Okay? 80% of its infrastructure is yet to be built. And so these countries present new markets. They also present a laboratory to say, okay, we can test if this is going to work. While our infrastructure is largely grown, it's a replacement because our population, although growing, is not growing the way India's, and the mass migration of Chinese people from the farmland into cities is not occurring. So there's an opportunity to work with China and India. And so in this Sputnik moment of today, I urge that we do 2 things. We should formulate sensible, long-range energy policies that have bipartisan support to guide the private sector of the United States. China's doing this. It seems to be working. We should do this. Long-range policies. And what about increasing the support of energy research and development? Why? Well, in research and development, private investments don't usually recoup the full value of the benefit. So companies are reluctant to do some of the early stage research and development. And quite frankly, a lot of the new technologies could displace an embedded way of doing business and could be met with resistance. Therefore, the government has to say, this is the path we should be going in for long-term future prosperity, and we have to do that. And let me emphasize that wealth creation is driven by innovation, and it is not a conserved quantity. That if we collaborate with China and India, we both come out better for it.